want to call it, is going to somehow allow Congress to have input into the outcome of these negotiations. And
yeah, one thing that would be helpful for us, Scott, is
there's so much in these negotiations, so much in this document that we've seen that is not good for the ordinary American people. It's good for the corporations. It's good for big business. But it's not good for us as citizens. It's not good for our children, for our environment. And frankly, it's not good for most of the people who are in these countries. It's good for the elite. I mean, what these agreements are is they're agreements between the elites of the country for the benefits of the elites. It's not for the benefit of the people. Once fast track goes through, the pressure is going to be even higher on people to push it through. So we're saying slow down the process, really let Congress have the ability to make some amendments on this, listen to their constituents, and that's what we say.
Last week, thousands of people attended the conference on world affairs at the University of Colorado. I was a person who was there all 5 days from opening session to closing session, passing out flyers against fast track, and Martha saw me there once or twice. And I wore my shirt, I stood up and asked questions in front of large groups, and making sure that as I stood there they could see my back. And I think I encountered 2 people who were for fast track. I want Representative Polis to know that we are a progressive group of Democrats along the Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, Alan Grayson mode and damnation. We are going to primary him out of Congress if he votes for this. I feel so strongly about it. So, Jared, I'm for you if you vote for this. I'm against you, and I'm going to work my damnedest to see if we can get a progressive in this seat. Thank you.
I feel like, and for him to act like, oh, well, I'm pulling those petitions, but I'm giving you this. And this was nothing.
He didn't pull the petitions. He didn't have the authority to do that.
He joined Governor Frackenluther, though.
But he didn't pull the petitions.
He didn't stand up.
He wouldn't submit them.
Yeah.
It was a backroom deal.
He just decided not to put his own money.
We're on the edge with Polis. Tell him.
We did not have
We are losing any faith that he is speaking with truth.
Don't trust him anymore.
Yeah. And if he pulls this,
he's had it.
He's had it.
Yep.
The progressive community, we are on the edge.
Okay.
And we understand Fort Collins is feeling pretty much the same way. And most of the old towns, too.
And we're the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
If you don't write anything else down, write tip of the iceberg for
I did the first time she said it.
And how many emails have you gotten from people?
You know, I haven't. It's been a few weeks since I've looked at our email thing on TPP, but we, again, have gotten emails from both sides.
I find that hard to believe.
I mean, and Pew Research has done quite a bit of research on that, on TPP in the 2nd Congressional District, and I think you might be surprised with the results.
Do you have that?
Huh?
Do you have those
I can
results?
send it.
We would like to know the exact numbers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Especially after our experiences with NAFTA, and we know that it's not creating any jobs, so it's only endangering our own country by corporate influence of other countries. I mean, basically taking our ability to manage our own business. We lose jobs. We know that for years now. And to vote for it would be really against the principles that I think this sort of group, even though it's good, but represents our voters. And I certainly not vote for Polis again.
That this deal has been negotiated in secret, I feel like is a reason that we need to slow down and not have a vote for fast track, because it needs to be with a matter such as this that's affecting so many countries and so many nations, and that's affecting the environment and the food and water in these environments and in these nations. It's something that needs to be public and not negotiated in secret. In Boulder here, we care about knowing the source of our food. And if an overarching trade deal is making it more difficult to know the source of our food and is making a broad policy to be importing more food and exporting more oil and gas, maybe, it's going to be affecting climate change, it's going to be affecting our water and our food, and these are things that we care about. These are things that are important to life.
7 generations in the future. That's what the natives represent. I happen to be Mohawk and Russian. And we're not living that at all, these decision makers. And when they go and they sue Broomfield for voting against fracking, Broomfield could never have the money that these corporation people have, like Merce. Is that his name, Merce? Who owes $6 billion to IRS, and yet he's not in jail. Is Polis paying taxes? Can we ever find that out? Is anybody up there paying any taxes? We just support this facade of democracy, and you make decisions on our water for the future generations. We just got doubled at Unity Church on our water. We can hardly make the payments that are coming on now through XL, that we got solar. We're supposed to be totally independent. They went and took our peak time, which is Sunday, from 9 to 12, and made that the norm for the week, and took just any amount of money we saved on solar, which we put in at the time when the whole bankruptcy took place in America. People donated to that, so we would not have any problems. We're paying more now than we did before we put this on. This is excess, and they're supposed to be environmentally care. We're not go against municipalization. It's a joke what this country is, and Polis is part of it. I'd like to see how much taxes he paid, or anybody pays that's in Congress or in the House.
We care about future generations, we care about our food and water, and it doesn't seem right. It's not right. It's not a matter of seeming right. It's against human rights for someone to be standing up to protect their water and to have a corporation sue them and legally sue them for money for the water that they would have for the profits they would have made from that water. So because it's a matter of food and water and future generations, I feel it's important that we slow down and not vote for fast track.
Like one kind of factor that I keep seeing pop up is just basically how much more power is being given to these corporate entities, these kind of 1% of the entire world. And recently I've been seeing so much information about like how much influence corporations have. And I'll kind of go back to the point that I heard earlier about tobacco, because I saw how tobacco companies just kind of flex their muscles. And I saw one recently of a small country in Africa that wanted to create more regulations for their for cigarettes, to put some kind of warning labels on boxes, let people know of the dangers of smoking. And as soon as they did this, one of the biggest companies in the world came in and just said, no, you're not going to do this, because it was like their how much their net worth was more than this country's GDP was. And so it's like, even if a small country wants to make a change, they can't in some instances, because a corporation comes down with the amount of power and lawyers that they have, that they can just do whatever they want without people having a real say in their issues that affect them on on a cultural, on a domestic level. And this just seems like another step towards just garnering more and more power for these corporations, and I just don't see who it helps other than the corporations, because it's just more power to them, and it's just the ability for them to continue to make as much money as possible and pretty much prevent any ability for people on the state and on the community level to have a real say in their issues, because they have so much power to wield that they throw it, they throw their weight around and prevent people from having their say. And this, like I said, this just seems like another step, and who knows where it's going to end with the next trade agreement. If they have something like that, just gives even more power, and I just don't like the direction that this is kind of taking us. I mean, we're already going down such a bad path. It seems like just another increase down that path, and I really don't like the direction that this is going.
And Jared Polis should represent us and should not, should vote against it. And that's our message. It's a very clear message, very simple. Don't do it.
My interest here is in what we're really talking about with the TPP is corporate power. Corporate power over the world, basically, but specifically in this instance over people who are living in these 12 countries. And I want to know, what is the congressman, I mean, what is his position? I mean, how is this in our interest? Our interest meaning non-corporate entities in all of these countries. What are we going to get out of it? Or are we just going to have everything sucked out of us the way the corporations are doing right now in this country and in other countries around the world? So that's really what my question to the congressman is. How is this in our interest? Because I don't think it is in our interest. It's in the corporate interests who run this country and run many other countries around the world.
I do not have as much to say, but I definitely agree with what is being said here, that we do not support this. It is not in our favor. And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on the subject.
I mean, I'm just like Congressman Polis, waiting to see what the compromise is coming out of the Senate.
And you're not at all concerned about TPP and how similar dealings have handed out $3 billion to the corporations, and how the details of this is only known by 600 executives and is not being made public at all?
Yeah, my job is to represent Jared, so it puts me kind of in an awkward situation, but I personally support these types of trade agreements. So does Congressman Polis, and it's on the merits of each individual trade agreement. I have faith in the Obama administration and having good intentions in trying to make these trade agreements more favorable to the average American, but again, we have to see what comes out of it.
This TPP is kind of like a large crystal punch bowl. And it's glistening, and it's got this really nice green liquid inside of it. It's just wonderful, except that when you read the list of ingredients, you go, oh my God. Now, Congressman Polis is talking about the sugar that's been put into it. Well, no matter how much sugar that you put into it, it's still garbage. It's still toxic. It's still going to hurt us. Even though there's a few outfits here in Colorado that are going to actually increase some imports, which is, who knows? Most of us are going to be hurt by it. There's going to be a depression in wages. There's going to be it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt our fracking movement. It's going to hurt our environmental movement. It's going to hurt everything that the general population of Colorado stands for. It should have been rejected, number one, because of the secret. Treaties do not have to be negotiated in secret. A lot of treaties are not. This one has been. And even 4 or 5 years afterwards, they're not allowed to reveal their positions. We're not going to get to see what the positions of some people were in the negotiations. When you have, in the tribunal, you have lawyers for Monsanto and Pfizer and the military-industrial complex. You have those people sitting on that board making judgments. I don't think they're going to advocate for us. They're going to advocate for what's best for the... we don't have any representation there. Now, he's talking about this fast track, and that the fast track that we're going to go ahead and, in this fast track agreement, we're going to say that we have to, that they're going to put in some guidelines as to what they want to have in the fast track. Well, the fast track has already been negotiated. Whatever they put in terms of guidelines is after the fact. It's already been done. If you can't do. And so when he's going to vote for it, and he will, and when he's going to vote for it, he's going to say, well, there was enough good stuff in there that there was some bad stuff that I had concerns about, but the good stuff overrode that. And it doesn't. And we won't know that until it actually kicks us and bites us in the ass.
You can say that TPP is going to have all these wonderful upgrades in all of these standards, and since it's secret, we can't respond by saying absolutely that is not going to happen. Though there have been all kinds of WikiLeaks of the investor state and process and all that sort of thing that indicate that isn't true. But you can say, well, they'll renegotiate it and da-da-da, it's going to be this wonderful thing. Problem is with fast track procedure is that it's, well, there's a little bit of discussion and debate, but you know, it's a done deal, and it's very legalistic language of many hundreds and hundreds of pages covering a wide variety of policies, which, you know, I mean, it's just very undemocratic to have.
They don't have trustees.
Have fast track dealing with it. We should have agreements that are public, and then also we shouldn't have fast track, so that the members of Congress, like Jared Polis, can do their congressional duty of dealing with the trade agreement, of having a full discussion and debate. It's handed over, and also the ability to amend it. But that's the other thing. But at any rate, I think it's concerning for the Democratic Party as well as for the planet and the people of the U.S. and the world.
Trade Adjustment Assistance.
Yes, and that's part of their negotiations as well.
TPA, and it's a separate provision, but it's part of the whole package.
Does that sound like?
I have to say that, in my opinion, even considering TAA is a mistake, because if you're going to authorize trade adjustment assistance, that means you acknowledge, you admit that jobs are going to be lost and that people are going to need the unemployment assistance and the retraining assistance that TAA is going to provide for them. That just doesn't make sense to me at all. And I know that, or at least I've heard, that President Obama said something to the effect of, yeah, that's okay, we'll just deal with that. Well, look,
so the challenge is going to be,
we've heard that, we'll just deal with that so many times before, and it hasn't been dealt with, and it won't be dealt with. And we'll have hundreds of thousands of hardworking Americans losing their jobs because those jobs are being sent to Southeast Asia, where the pay is less than $1 an hour in most of those countries, where a country like Brunei wants to kill LGBT people, and a country like Vietnam will simply scoff at the environmental regulations that are in the TPP, because every other country so far has scoffed at them and nobody does anything about it. And as I said a couple of times before, the United States can't even enforce its own regulations on environment within its own borders. How in the hell do we think that we're going to be the world's policeman and enforce environmental and human rights and labor standards and conscientious production techniques in Southeast Asia? Okay, granted, maybe Australia and New Zealand will go along, but Australia and New Zealand both already have stronger environmental protections than we do. New Zealand declared itself a nuclear-free zone 20 years ago. It took a lot of heat from the international community, but stood its ground. We can't do that. We're afraid to do that. We being the United States of America. So I'm saying it isn't going to work. It isn't going to. It didn't work then. It hasn't worked since. It isn't going to work now, no matter what Barack Obama says.
Bravo.
I know there were.
Frack. It's absurd to do that. Why would we sacrifice when it's just absurd what is going on with fracking. And to call it clean energy, natural gas clean energy, when you do such a dirty process to get it out of the earth. How could anybody say that's clean energy? You're raping Mother Earth. Raping it.
That we've established that international corporations don't have to follow those. But my real despair is Obama, who his platform was transparency, and then he has this backroom deal on the fast track. How is that justified? What pretense can he have to say that this is transparency?
I'm going to be 83 next week, and I have children in their 50s, older than most of you guys, and grandchildren. And I want to protect Mother Earth. I want to have a peaceful planet. And Jared Polis is not representing me. I will be working very hard to primary him out unless he does the right thing here. And I'm still going to have reservations over some of these other past things, like siding with our pro-fracking government. Amen.
I have a statement and a question, but to me the root of the problem is money in politics. And the Citizens United decision, which declared not only were corporations people, but money was speech. So that just multiplies the power, people power that they have by a factor of billions, because they have much more money than any of us people, most of the people in this country. And we know the split about the 400 people that have 40% after wealth or whatever it is. So my question to Jared, and I know that there have been several measures introduced into the House to overturn Citizens United by amending the corporation to state that corporations are not people, money is not speech. I want to know, has Jared sponsored any of those amendments? Or any of all of those amendments? Or what is his position on amending the Constitution, which is the only way that, as I understand it, other than replacing the Supreme Court, we're ever going to get our democratic rights back? So what is his position? And why don't I know that? Because I read his newsletters and I read.
Yeah.
So where is he on that?
So that's not my issue area, so I can't really talk about it. And
but this is a question to him.
Right. I can tell you that he does support campaign finance reform and has done quite a bit on that issue, but again, it's not something that.
But this is not campaign finance reform. This is a constitutional amendment. This is not. And it has to start there or start at the State House. And first, the thing you have to do is you get a supermajority out of the House and the Senate before you can get a constitutional amendment on the boards. So where is he?
Yeah. I don't know specifically about this.
Where you have trade agreements that are negotiated solely for the benefit of the wealthiest people on the planet. And as I said before, really what this corporate globalization is it's deals between the wealthy and all the countries for their benefit and not for the benefit of the majority of the people. And I think that's what people have been saying here today. And we appreciate you listening to this. We know you've heard a lot of this before, but there are new voices here today.